an old party, Gronk's throwing a party, and then up at Glendale, where the actual game takes place, there's a lot of festivities up there. So it's just nice to see your hometown host something this big, and I think it's going to be a great game. And I think in conjunction with the Phoenix Open, which is just a zoo as well, it's amazing to have them both taking place in 1 week.
All right, wait a minute. You talked about Shaq throwing a party, and I know you mentioned maybe our good friend Tim Ring, who worked with us in Miami and also lives out here in the Phoenix area now. I think he may have mentioned something to me about the Gronk party. The Shaq party is news to me. What do we know about the Shaq party?
I think it's taking place at Talking Stick Resort, from what I'm
Okay,
hearing.
that's great. That's great by where the Eric Burns Scottsdale compound is.
Exactly.
So that's very convenient.
A lot of events taking place there. I think the Sports Illustrated party is there, but that's the interesting thing. The last time the Super Bowl was held here, so many of the private corporate events, like Kid Rock was paid like $250,000 to do a 20-minute set at a corporate event at a house off-site.
How much?
$250,000
For 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they go up and up. But Maroon 5 played the other night at the start of the Phoenix Open. So that's the other thing that's going to be interesting to talk about. And maybe Jay can bring in some of that dynamic is the parties and all the corporate events that go on along with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I'm curious because you've been here, so I'm curious to know how much are the golfers and obviously I understand. Having been with an NBA team for 10 years and traveled with the team, you may see a Chiefs and or Eagles player at a random thing here or there, but they're not going to be visible out at a lot of things. They're here. This is a business trip for them.
Yeah.
They're here to win a championship. They can come back to Scottsdale and party anytime. You're going to see the guys from the other teams that haven't made it into this game are going to be people that are out and about. But the golfers, I'm curious about the golfers. Will some of the golfers pop up at some of these events, you think?
I would think so, but it's kind of amazing. Those guys are so dialed in the same way. This is a big event. It's one of the new on the PGA Tour. So, and there's a lot of parties that happen right there at the Bird's Nest. So they don't have to go that far to get involved in some fun and some frivolity out there. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see some out and about. But I think that their base is going to be up at the TPC Scottsdale and won't get too crazy out there.
The Penguin is asking us, will Tiger Woods make an appearance? Is Tiger's not playing, is he?
No. I doubt he'll be here. No.
You and I, by the way, are open for the show that I didn't roll today, that I will roll in just this year because I have a good friend who was on our Press Box Party podcast a couple of weeks ago with Tim Ring and I. His name's Rob Fiorino. He does radio imaging, and he created this awesome open for the DJ experience with Dave and Jess, and it didn't feel right to play it with Dave and Brad. but it says in there, one of the lines is for when he talks about me, he says Dave Benz has been on the field for Super Bowls, walked down the 18th fairway at Augusta with Tiger, and you were with me.
Yes.
I mean, it's a little bit
one of the great stories.
Yeah, it's a little bit facetious because it wasn't like I was walking exactly with Tiger. I was with the masses of people along with you, but we got into Augusta to watch Tiger win his second title at Augusta.
Yes, and what was amazing about that, he had a pretty decent lead, so we watched his approach on 17, and I said, hey, let's hustle up to the tee box at 18, and we were able to beat the crowd, and so we literally were right next to the ropes when Tiger put his tee down, 2 foot away from us, 3 foot away?
Yeah.
And we watched him stripe that drive down the 18th, which is, that's hallowed ground, and then we were able to, after he hit a shot, follow him down. And yeah, you talk about one of the truly great experiences. We also saw Phil Mickelson win there, but no appearance for Tiger. Rory's here, and a lot of the bigger names are coming this year because in the past, a lot of the big names have stayed away from this tournament because it's rowdy. Hole-in-one means you're going to get beer thrown at you and debris, but now the paycheck is higher, and so I think more people will be here, the bigger names, but that was certainly one of the many fantastic experiences we've had.
And we also saw Arnie play his last competitive round at Augusta, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Was that 02?
Yeah, it was 02 and 04 were the years we were there.
Yeah, I haven't been back since, but I need to get back there.
And when you had Ian Eagle on your show, you had that great photo. You and I, after a couple of adult beverages, bumped into Bill Raftery.
Yes,
One of the great pubs in Augusta, and we talked hoops, we talked broadcasting. He had a big old stogie going, but it's a fantastic picture. We all had it like the right amount of buzz factor.
Yeah, I didn't remember. I didn't recall the. Tim remembered the story. I didn't recall that we had gotten Bill on the phone to call Tim and leave a message about the whole basketball.
I had forgotten about that too, but we said, hey, here, leave a message for our friend, and he did. He was just a rambling Bill Raftery. Giving him some grief on DePaul basketball, I believe. Yeah.
By the way, if you haven't seen that podcast, you can check it out on the archives here on No Filter. You can also check it out on our YouTube channel, anywhere that, and it's also available on Apple or Spotify as an audio podcast. So we're all over the place. We're all over the place all week, and No Filter is the place that you want to be. If for some reason you're seeing this or hearing this somewhere outside of No Filter, please go to nofilter.net, register for an account. It is 100% free, and I get it. Listen, a lot of people, they're like, oh, you register, what, am I going to get hit with a bunch of spam? Is there something else? They're going to be some hidden fee. They're going to ask for a credit card or something later. It's not. Yeah. There's nothing, okay? It's like the show is set up if you want to tip because you like the content. Hey, well, we're happy to take that.
I know. We're working for tips as well.
Yes. Well, it's America. It's America. It's like, hey, listen, you go buy a coffee and you put your credit card in and it's $2.65. You want to leave a 20%
like a guilt
tip.
Trip. It's a guilt trip.
I hit the no button and I don't feel bad about it at all, man. It's like, I'm sorry, you poured me a cup of coffee, man. Come on. So, all right, so we totally deviated. Now, see, if this was the 60, beat the play clock for 60 minutes, we're all over the place. We've deviated. Okay, so let's get back to the Super Bowl.
Let me ask you, like, what percentage of guests that we have do the game do you think will succeed? I'm saying like 15% tops.
Well, the fact that we lowered it to 40 from 60, I think it greatly improves the chances. But yeah, I think there's going to be, because most people are not going to be ready for it, right?
Exactly.
They're coming and we're hitting them cold.
Yeah.
So
and you've probably been practicing on the plane flight here. You would like look at random words in the in-flight magazine and just going on diatribes.
Well, the other thing is though, you know what we need to do is I got to see if there's a way I could build a stopwatch into the screen so people can see the time as it goes. I
could just hold it, my Apple Watch.
You can hold up your Apple Watch. But the thing that is going to be fun is see what the record is, right? So if you beat the clock, but also do you get the record? Maybe we're going to give a title.
It's going to have to be a broadcaster because I think, or like a PR marketing guru to be able to do that, because I dropped food twice within the first 15 seconds. So it's gonna be, you just gotta. Yeah.
So I think during the week we're going to.
Now, what other like gems do you have for the DJ experience other than?
So obviously guests. I'm efforting Kevin Harlan, who I know from. He was the former Timberwolves play-by-play guy back in the day.
Kansas State man, if I believe correctly.
He what?
Yeah, Kansas State.
Yeah. Is that where he's from? Yeah. Kansas State. Yeah. You got Kevin Harlan knowledge that I don't have. But he's calling the game for Westwood One. Oh. So
he's great. By the way,
I mean,
that guy has such perfect energy for any game he does.
God, he's so good. And the best is like when he, when he calls when there's the great audio. If you haven't heard it, I'm sure you can find it online. Where there's a drunk guy on the field. He's to the 20. He's to the 10. He's drunk. He doesn't care. It's great. And I haven't reached out to Steve Sands yet, but I'm imagining he's in town with the Phoenix Open. Yes. And I don't know if he'd be free to come over here. Steve and I have ties going back to my beginnings in broadcasting. Steve actually was the sports director at
I did not know that.
WUTR TV in Utica, New York, and when he left that job, I took over the job.
Oh, okay.
But because everybody he had worked with knew him, I built friendships with those people, so there was some crossover. So I got to know Steve over the years. He went to Orlando, to a local affiliate in Orlando, and then you want to talk about having great timing. He went to the local, I don't know, WKMG maybe in Orlando, and he happened to be there. He was there for like a year and a half when they launched the Golf Channel, which was based in Orlando, and he was already there, and it's like, boom, and now look at him. He's got a great gig. So I'm going to try to get him on this week. We've got, I believe Steve Largent is set up to come on this week. We've got Bella Rasmussen you probably don't know that name, but she's out of California, a high school football player, a female high school football player, tailback. She's scored 2 touchdowns in a game this year. Julie Donaldson, who is the communications director and one of the analysts on the Commanders broadcasts, is a friend of mine. She's supposed to stop by this week, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head. mean, we've got guests lined up
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's going to be just a cavalcade of guests, and then as I said, we've got the games lined up, and Jess has some good ideas for a couple of other type games. I was thinking I haven't built this out yet, but we can play Super Bowl feud, like a family feud thing,
I
and
like
make
that.
up some
Yeah.
teams
Yeah.
because everybody loves playing that
Show
kind of
me.
thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we got a lot of good stuff, and I would love to be able to incorporate. So like when we do some of this stuff, I'd love to be able to incorporate some of the viewers and get them to come on and be able to play some of this as well. So if you want to come on and you want to try beating the NFL play clock, if you're in the audience right now, give us a knock. We'll bring you on. We'll do it. I do want to talk about the game for a minute here though, because like I said, I wasn't thrilled that these were the two teams that got here, but. Listen, the Eagles, I don't know if they got enough respect nationally. They were the one seed.
It took a while to get, I think, the full respect because they just were so good, so consistent all year long. And I think people kept expecting them to have a 3 or 4 week stretch where they just lost it, but they never did.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if you're an Eagles fan watching this, you probably feel differently, but I don't know that outside of Jalen Hurts and maybe Devontae Smith, who's kind of starting to grow, and Harrison Reddick obviously starting to grow, but do they really have a high Q factor? I mean, how many players on the Eagles can the average non-Eagles fan actually name?
Yeah.
Whereas and granted, I'm on the flip side, right? Because I live in the Bay Area, but the Niners, they went on that incredible win streak, and everybody knew what Brock Purdy was doing. So everybody knew Brock Purdy. Everybody knows Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and Bosa and on and on. So it's like that's a team, the names, the players. Where it's like the Eagles, I'm like, okay, they got Jalen Hurts.
And I think maybe that's why they've been so successful is they have a lot of guys that go in there, do their job, and don't get all that attention. Really, it was the story of Hurts and that shoulder that really was the latter part of the season for them. But, it was just unique that they continued to roll with just solid elements all the way around.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, though. I think that they're a team that, as a 1 seed with the best record in the NFC, I think they may have been the most not respected 1 seed that we've ever seen.
Because they were always there. By the way, I guess they did like the Madden where they play the game, and a majority of the times the Eagles won 31-17.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen,
and that's been a fairly good predictor because with the analytics they can put into that game now, it's been pretty spot on over the years, but that was kind of interesting.
The great X factor in this game this week is clearly going to be Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's got the high ankle sprain, and at the end of that AFC Championship game, he had to actually sprint to be able to get a first down. And you saw afterwards that he didn't look like he was feeling so great, and it was a play he had to run, but did he kind of re-aggravate it? Is he going to be 100%? But at the same time, listen, they're going to do whatever they need to do to be able to get him ready to play. How mobile he'll be able to be, how effective he'll be able to be if they get him out of the pocket, that's another question. But I don't know. 31-17 sounds like. I mean, I listen. I'm going to go with the boys in Vegas over the boys at Madden, and the boys in Vegas have this being a 2-point game.
Yeah,
and I'd say that right now.
And the over/under around 50, 52 or so.
I kind of think the under in this one, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
By the way, so sports betting is legal here in Arizona, so it's the first time that a host city has been able to have live walk-up sports betting. They're predicting $700 million will be wagered on this game.
Wait. So isn't there a casino at the stadium?
Yes, there's a BetMGM right at there, so you could walk up there.
So it's like going to the track if you're going to bet on the ponies.
Yeah, and all the casinos and obviously online. And that's what's interesting. The people that come here visiting from another state, they can sign up for one of those online. And because you're physically in Arizona, you can wager. Obviously, next year in Vegas, it'll be the same thing. But it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, the NFL saw for so long how much money was slipping out of their coffers with the online betting and things like that, and now they get a big chunk of that. So,
I mean, it's listen, it was inevitable. It's only a matter of time, and I think, listen, you go back to the history of why gambling was so taboo with professional sports, right? You think about the Black Sox scandal and how that affected baseball and kind of trickled down to all the other sports, and it makes sense, right? But you're talking about back in the day, Shoeless Joe Jackson. Those guys weren't making
Exactly.
the money that these players are making.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you've got a guy in the NBA or the NFL,
Yeah,
or
the
another
incentive
sport,
financially for the downside is nowhere close to what it was for those guys.
right?
I mean,
The amount of money you would have to pay. I'm just throwing a name out there. I'm not even want to name a person because I don't want it to be like, hey, but if you were to pay, Joe Brown, you were to, and he's a star player on a team, and you wanted him to do something to be able to influence the outcome of the game, and he's making $30 million a year on his player contract, and he's making another $50 million a year in endorsements. I mean, you literally have to be like, we'll give you $500 million.
Yeah.
That's what it would take.
Yeah. Well, the amazing thing now is that you can literally bet in game on what the play will be, how long. That's where it gets interesting. Same with golf, I think. Will this person bogey a hole? Say let's take that perspective. Like a guy's kind of struggling to make the cut. And he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to make a bogey and put some money on it. That would be the one thing where it may come into play. But no,
and we've, there have been conversations about that having come from an NBA background. It's like, how far can you go? Will player X miss his first free throw?
Yeah.
Because then it's like, that's
So
exactly what we're
specific.
talking about. That would be so easy to be like, we got our picture being taken here right now. That would be so easy to be able to be like.
And so hard to track. But I think the leagues have done a pretty good job, of embracing this and trying to be vigilant, because that was the one real big negative as this was brought in, is how will the leagues monitor something like that. But no, I think it's going to be fascinating to be at the stadium, and you can go out at halftime, grab a beer, a hot dog, and place a second half wager as well.
The lines to place the wagers will probably be longer than the lines for the concessions.
Well, yeah, and that's why people will do it on their phone.
Yeah, well, it's going to be, well, I guess that's true,
Last
right?
time I was
Just
in
do it from your
Vegas,
phone.
Caesars has a great sports book, and you didn't even need to go up and place the bet. You just sat at your chair and did it on your phone.
Although, here's the thing, buyer beware, right? If you win, I met up with a buddy of mine last night at Talking Stick who loves going out there and playing at the poker tables, and not my thing. If I'm in Vegas, maybe I'll throw down at a blackjack table here or there, but it's not. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't do it for me, right?
Yeah.
Going in and playing cards or whatever. That's not really my thing. But I went and hung out with my buddy Ken and watched him play poker for a little bit. But he was telling me that anything over now 1,200 or higher, I always thought it was 10 grand.
Yeah.
1,200 or higher, they give you a W-2.
Really?
A W-2-G, which is for gambling.
Yeah.
And so if you win, you come here to the Super Bowl and you win a wager and you win $2,000, expect a W-2G to show up in your mailbox.
Here's the downside of that. Like, what if you lose a bunch of bets?
You can write it off, but here's the thing.
But you have to prove it, right?
You can only write off to eliminate your winnings.
Yeah.
So if you say
you're not going to be on the plus side.
Yeah. So say you go to the Super Bowl
That
and
makes sense,
and you make a bunch of bets, right?
Yeah.
And you win. You win $3,000, but you actually lost $5,000.
Yeah.
So they'll send you the W-2G for the $3,000 you won, and you can write off $3,000 because you lost $5,000. But you can't you can't have a net negative $2,000 and get a rebate on your taxes.
Yeah. But that's what, with all the apps that I use, you get a statement at the end of the year showing what your win-loss for the year was.
Yeah. Well,
which I get it.
But this person I was with last night told me, he goes, he told me, yeah.
Well, that's why when you go to cash in your chips, you only do like $800 to come back, $500, $300. Yeah, that happened to me one time in Vegas, and a guy who was the high roller said, "Oh no, don't," because I had actually done pretty well. He's like, oh no, don't cash it all in the same time. Do it in increments like that, and
Yeah, I'll just color me up. I'm going to take the chips with me, and I'll come back over a couple of days.
Yes, that's
and they would probably not really want to stop you from doing that because they want you to hold the chip. Because then if you're going back in there with the intention of cashing the chip in, and you're walking past the tables on the way to the cashier, you're like, maybe I can double this. That great alert.
Exactly.
It sucks you in. Yes. All right, so Eagles. If I had to make a wager on this game, I think I've got to take the Eagles. I mean, I think the money has come in. From what I understand, the money's come in on the Chiefs because I think it opened at 2 and now it's down to 1.5. And I haven't checked it today, but the last time I checked
that's what I saw.
Was, 1.5. So it lowered half a point, which tells me more money has come in on the Chiefs. Yeah. Everybody wants the points, but I mean. Listen, it's the Chiefs to me are. It's not that they can't win. It's not that I can't be dead wrong. The Chiefs could very well come in and win this thing, but I just feel like there's too many ifs with the Chiefs. Where the Eagles,
the variables are such that I think that the smart. And I'm curious to see how much that line is going to move this week as we get more info on the health of Mahomes and some of the other guys that we want to sort of know for sure they're 100%. I don't think it's going to vary that much, but I think it will end up being like the Eagles, maybe 2.5.
So you think it's going to go?
I think it will kind of go back at some point in time, because I think those early adopters with the Chiefs were, like I said, getting those points.
So you're telling me I should jump on the Eagles minus 1.5 right now if my intent is to take the Eagles?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm thinking the under. So the teams are here. They got in last night. And tonight will be the only public appearance for the teams. They'll meet the media many times during the course of the week. And, that's another thing for us to talk about. We'll get to it in a second because you and we've been to many Super Bowls over the years together. But tonight, they actually, and this is amazing how things have changed. I was driving in my car yesterday. I heard a radio commercial. They're actually selling tickets to the media event tonight for fans to go to Footprint Center and be able to see the players. And I don't know if that's a new thing. I don't recall the last time.
But it does make sense.
Right.
Anytime you can make extra money and give the fans a chance to be a part of that, which, it is a fantastic event. We did one in Miami, if you remember, at Whammy TV, and we came up with the idea. I took the game Operation, the little game where you take out the body parts, and if you don't, it's and we had all the teams play the game of Operation for our take on Super Bowl Media Day, and it was a real hit. It got picked up by a lot of different national publications, but I don't know if that will be happening tonight at the Footprint Center.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, I mean, why not? Somebody's gonna. There are going to be people that are going to come up with creative ideas. I'm trying to see. Okay, hold on. I'm going.
A lot of absurd ideas, though. You always have like.
Okay. I'm going to roll for people at home. I am going to roll the open. So when Brad and I were in Miami, and I don't know, this is somewhere in this one. I'm not going to roll the entire thing, but when we were in Miami, we worked at a station called Whammy TV. It was located right on Lincoln Road.
USA Broadcasting, Barry Dillers.
Yeah, if you go to Miami Beach and you go to Lincoln Road now, there's a Starbucks. What is the intersection there? Lincoln and what? It's smack dab in the middle of Lincoln Road. There's a Starbucks.
It's the Sony Music Building.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it still called the Sony Music Building?
I believe it's still there. Just big Latin headquarters.
So if you go there, there's a Starbucks, and that was our studio. So when we eventually got booted off the air because Brad and I were so bad, they said, "Get the heck off the air! Nobody wants to listen to you guys."
We were sold to Univision for like $1 billion.
Yeah,
and we both got a little bit of a payout at the end of our contract.
Yes, we did, and that was nice.
There was much rejoicing.
Yeah, there was much rejoicing. And that was probably one of the better severances, but because they converted it all to Spanish, and mi español no es muy bueno, so hasta la vista. But this was okay. So this is a taste of Brad and I in South Beach back in the day. This was the open to our very final show. So check this out. Oh, hold on, I gotta rewind it. Okay, here we go.
Still haven't found it yet? Haven't found it yet, but I did run into Matt Berry. You guys bar last night? He's down there. How are everybody calling Whoa. Whoa.
All right, there you
Wow.
go. That was a taste of it.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
Well, probably 01.
That was
2000.
July of 01, so
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
22
yeah.
years. That's hard to believe.
That still makes me laugh.
Yeah, and we had and it was so much of that was. I mean, we exaggerated a little bit, but we did have great gigs. It was
Yes.
we had a half an hour sports show every night from 10 to 10:30, unless. That we also were the local broadcast rights holder for the Heat and the Marlins games. So if we had one of those games, we did a pre and post game show for the Heat or the Marlins. But on the nights we didn't have it, we did a half an hour Sports Center type show, and we had such a great staff. It made it so easy for us to be able to kind of roll in and just be like, hey, okay, what's going on? And it was a good gig.
Yeah, it was especially because we got to press the envelope in terms of trying new things. That was kind of the mantra was, not too many people were doing a local 30-minute nightly sportscast like we were, and a lot of live guests. We had, Pat Riley on, and a lot of the Dolphins players. That was a lot of fun, and I miss those days. But this is fun too.
Yeah,
reunited.
This
a
is
whammy
fun.
Reunion here.
The whammy reunion is great, and we had a good time doing some of that stuff. And
remember the Super Bowl? So that was when Peyton Manning was going to get drafted, and we went out there, and I was able to sort of wrangle up his handlers, and his time was very limited. This was before he got drafted, and I did like a walk and talk through the Super Bowl experience with him. That was like a kick to do.
Yeah, well, and he got drafted number 1 overall right after that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there yet for that Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Because I think that Super Bowl must have been, I got down there in 99, so that must have been the end of the 98 season.
And that was the one where the Falcons player got busted for being with a prostitute the night before the game.
Eugene Robinson, who I had covered in Green Bay.
Yeah, you talked about the players on lockdown. That was not on lockdown. I don't know what you're thinking. You've got the biggest game of your life in, maybe 8-10 hours, and you're out and about.
Well, he had just won a Super Bowl a few years earlier, so I don't know. Maybe he was just like, this is. I'm used to winning Super Bowls. But somebody's saying, was it Lincoln and Meridian? That might be it.
I believe so.
Yeah, Rockin' Reese is rocking the Google app, right?
Exactly.
The Google Maps app.
Yeah, it was right down from that really cool little club.
I know what you're saying.
Not Tantra.
Oh, Tantra was
Yeah.
great, but also
Yeah.
was the Magic Garden Party at
Oh,
the
yeah.
Albion Hotel. There were so many great spots.
We heard about them. We never had the chance to go to any of these.
No, yeah, no, we never
You
went
know, that's
to
the
any
other
of
thing
those.
about the parties that go along with these Super Bowl events. I was looking online the other day. The tickets for these events are just absurd. So much money. I think it's $1 billion is going to be poured into the Phoenix and Arizona economy this week with the Super Bowl as well as the Phoenix Open. But I think to get a table service for one of the big Gronk event or whatever, it's like 10 grand or something like that.
Well, and even I bet it's even trickled down to Henry Markin and I were talking last night after we left here and tested out the equipment. We were discussing where are we going to get food while we're here on Radio Row. And I'm sure that somewhere within the convention center here, there's probably our concession stands
hope so.
where there's food.
Exactly.
But-
Where you can also purchase things you can eat.
Yes, exactly.
Like food.
But but I bet the prices at the concession stand are probably ridiculous even here. And I told him, I said, well, I'm sure there's still a lot of restaurants right around here outside,
Well,
but I bet they've all jacked
Henry
up
and I
their
walked
prices
past
too.
Marley's. Dan Marley, the famous former Phoenix Suns player, has had his namesake bar not too far from this. Always one of the great spots. You'd see those guys after the games back in the the era of Barkley and Marley and all those guys.
KJ and
Yeah.
Chambers.
Oh, yeah. Tom Chambers. Yeah, I hosted a show with him for 15 years.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Chambers is
Yeah.
he was on the Press Box Party podcast, and he was hilarious.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
He came
Yeah.
on with us. He was like episode 4, so you can go back and check that out. He did it from his car, but it was definitely a lot of fun watching him do that.
His high school coach was my college basketball coach.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like generational.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all right. So should we get people? Let's see. I want to just do real quick. I'm going to show people kind of what we're. Okay, so we're changing camera. Okay, so I'm going to stand up for 1 second.
Oh, no.
And I'm just going to. I just want to
Do we
flip
have
this
the-
camera around.
Okay.
I want to just show everybody kind of what we're looking at here.
Show the big serious.
By the way, so there's Henry Markin, our fantastic social media coordinator. He'll make an appearance. You got AJ and Rob back there hanging out. AJ was on before us here this morning, and there's Joe Manuel, our fantastic fearless leader who's doing everything here. And then here's kind of like the view. It's not really super busy this week. Like you can see, there's a lot of empty tables still, and we've got the great backdrop behind us, and then there's more over here. So I guess there's conveniently actually a viewer right back in that. So we don't have the big CBS Sports set, but we're not too shabby over here.
Yeah.
We've got
The Jets have a spot over there.
the Jets.
Yeah.
The Raiders had a spot over there yesterday. So this is going to fill in more and more
This place is
as
going
the
to
week
be,
goes on.
Yeah, this place is. And what's interesting is you have the sports wagering sites here. You've got DraftKings over there, FanDuel over there. It's become mainstream.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how just big it is.
6 days, 6 hours, and 46 minutes away from kickoff.
Yeah,
Did you know that?
How much?
6 days, 6 hours, 46 minutes, and 5 seconds. Just if you want to know that.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. All right. The main camera. Now I feel like I need to adjust that a little bit. Let's push that back. We were.
Now at Whammy, we had studio technicians who would do this for us. What a pair.
We dropped the ball over here.
We got Joe. There we go. Now we got it. Boom. Now we're good. All
We
right.
need like that on a remote. Or,
we
you know.
did that on a remote. Yeah. All right. Let's do that, and then boom. See, but you know what the amazing thing is, Brad?
What's that?
Like I'm doing all this right now. People are looking at me, kind of moving stuff around here,
Yeah.
and I'm doing it on the fly. But it's I mean, think about this. Think about this time that we're in right now,
it's
right? Like, I mean, I'm
absolutely
basically
incredible.
making a television production, right? We're making a television production right now off of my laptop. I mean,
Well, and dropping in video like the Whammy video.
yeah,
like
I like
it
that.
just
I like
is-
that. I like that view better. I'm going to leave that one. Yeah, I can roll in video. We've
Yeah.
got some commercials where at the top of the hour. Actually, we should probably break in like 5 minutes because I have to get in 2 commercial breaks, and I don't. So we'll get in one here in a couple minutes, and then get in the other one because give a shout out to the people who sponsored us. By the way, I may have another sponsor jumping on with us who you're familiar with. Our friends at GoTV
Oh,
may
yeah,
jump
yeah.
on.
Oh,
So
nice.
so we're going to give them a little bit of
Oh,
love and talk
very
about
cool.
them throughout the week, which is great. But love the fact that you're just able. Like, I think about how much it's changed.
Oh,
when
yeah.
I did Radio Row back in 2007, and okay, granted that is even 16 years ago,
Yeah.
which blows my mind. But there wasn't this. There wasn't, hey, come sit up here on television studio and do everything like yourself. It's amazing how technology has changed.
When I was in Cincinnati, I broadcast for the Bengals. We traveled to London for the game against the now Commanders. And what was so amazing was everywhere we went in London, we just had a live backpack. So there was no satellite truck. There was no hooking into any kind of a phone feed or anything. It literally was just fire up the little backpack, which is tiny, and go live from anywhere and everywhere. And we actually fed all of our post-game sound back live to the station. So they had it because we had to catch a flight back with the team from Heathrow. But you're right. It's like just mind-boggling where we've come, even since we were in Whammy.
By the way, you bring up London. Obviously, the NFL is expanding its international footprint, right? Do we ever see a day in our lifetime? I think it happens eventually. I don't think it happens in the next decade.
A team based there?
No.
Okay.
I'm going one step further.
Okay.
Do we ever see an international Super Bowl? Would they ever host a Super Bowl in London?
That's a good question. I think you're talking a decade, though, but
I don't know if it happens in our lifetime. I think it happens.
Yeah.
You know what? You know when it happens?
because the average fan is priced out of this game.
Right.
The fan, I know some people that are Cardinals season ticket holders and they got a chance to buy tickets and they're going to go. But it's exorbitant for them to do it. And so this is a corporate event and the NFL likes corporate money. So, if it made financial sense, and it is the 2 weeks between the last game to get teams there, get them acclimated to the time change and everything, I certainly see that as a possibility. And I would say 10 years plus.
Although the only problem with that is I'm thinking about it, the biggest obstacle you really have is to hold it internationally, right? You would still want the domestic TV audience. So you would have to have it at a time that made sense in the US for television, which means you'd have to kick that game off at like 1 a.m. London time for it to be, 5 whatever time it would be, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. So, I don't know then if it does make sense.
Yeah.
Kick it off at, well, maybe
But
it's not 1 a.m.
certainly getting back to the original question is, I think there could very well be a team based there within the next decade, just because I think there's enough money in that community to bring a team there. Teams are used to doing that now. It was not that bad of a trip. Flew over there, went straight through, went to practice, and then the guys were pretty much acclimated by day 2 over there.
I think putting a team there, though, I think that could happen in the next decade.
That's way different than your showcase marquee game.
Although if you put one team there, don't you almost need to have a couple of teams in Europe? Because you've got to have. I mean, you almost would have to have a division there, right, where they play each other, and then those teams they come over and play in the United States, and they're here. They're on like a 4-game road trip, and they play here. And then same thing with if the Bears are going to go over to Europe, they're going to go play all 4 teams in that division.
Yeah, that would have to make sense, because if you're the team that's there, and the travel would just be so brutal, you would have to stay here once you got here.
Right.
For 3 or 4 weeks at a time.
And listen, I guess it'd be doable for the Patriots to go play in London and come back and maybe they have a bye week, or they play
with the Rams or the
Chargers, or they're playing
a
Thursday game and then they fly to London and they got the extended break, and that would be doable.
Yeah.
But for you can't make the Chargers or the Rams or the Niners go play one game over in Europe. That would be brutal.
Yeah. It takes its toll. The interesting thing that I saw coming back was you had to get on that flight right away, and guys get banged up in an NFL game. They have sprains, they have bruises, they have contusions, they have concussions, and getting on a plane for like 12 hours is not the best way to do that. And that there are guys that if they get dinged up and have a concussion, a lot of them don't want the coaching staff or the training staff to know. And I was just wondering, like, that's a really interesting part of that trip. You're a third string DB and you get a sprain or concussion. Those flights could be pretty dangerous coming back.
Yeah. All right, I got a question for you. Do you collect any sports cards?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on a live stream for a card break?
I have not.
Okay.
What is that?
Well, you can dive in at thecollectiblenetwork.com. They have huge card breaks. They're scheduled for this coming weekend. You can follow them on Twitter at CollectibleNet or subscribe for free at thecollectiblenetwork.com. And speaking of the Collectible Network, we're going to hear a word from the Collectible Network, and that is going to be coming your way. Hold on. That is going to be coming your way.
Who are those gorgeous people? Oh, that's you?
Well, that's Jess and I. Yes, that's our that's our fantastic.
How do you get that? How do you get the avatar made of that?
You have to know what you're doing. All right, here's a word from the Collectible Network as well as our other fantastic sponsor we'll talk about on the other side. If it plays. It's not playing right now. This is playing it off the internet. There we go. The whammy thing played just fine.
Yes.
Why is this one not playing? That's deflating. All right, well, hold on. Let's see if we can. I'll read.
Is there a copy I can read?
I just read the copy.
Oh, okay.
I just read the copy from Collectible Network. So I don't know why that didn't play. Okay, I'm giving it another shot here. This is frustrating. It played earlier. Let me see. This is so. I'm going to go back to the. We're going to go back to the full screen.
So this is a service that you could show what cards you have and people bid on them? What is the premise?
So the premise is you can bid on, what you do is you bid on, so my friend Cash Roy runs the Collectible Network.
Oh, okay.
And you bid on, so they're going to do a box break, right? So you could bid on, I want all the New York Knicks cards.
Okay.
So then every Knicks card that he gets, that's yours if you win
okay.
that auction. So that's how it works. So I don't know. This is very frustrating to me why that commercial is not playing, because I uploaded it and it's refusing to play, which is not very fun. You know what it could be? I know why it could be. I wonder if it's because I have the live stream going on YouTube. So I'm going to